Hi guys, welcome to Educating College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 28. Today we'll be reading a poem called The Frost by Hannah F. Gold. Let's begin. The frost looked forth one still clear night and whispered, "Now I shall be out of sight. So through the valley and over the height, in silence I'll take my way. I will not go on like that blustering train, the wind and the snow, the hail and the rain, that make so much bustle and noise in vain, but I'll be as busy as they." So he flew to the mountain and powdered its crest. He lit on the trees and their boughs he dressed. In diamond beads and over the breast of the quivering lake he spread a coat of mail that it need not fear the downward point of many a spear, that he hung on its margin far and near where a rock could rear its head. He went to the window of those who slept, and over the plain like a fairy crept. Wherever he breathed, wherever he stepped, by the light of the morn were seen most beautiful things. There were flowers and trees, there were beeves of birds and swarms of bees. There were cities with temples and towers, and these all pictures with silver sheen. But he did one thing that was hardly fair. He peeped in the cupboard, and finding there that all had forgotten for him to prepare, now just to set them a-thinking, "I'll bite this basket of fruit," said he, "this costly pitcher I'll burst in three. And the glass of water they've left for me shall teach to tell them I'm drinking." Next, we're going to start with a question. So question 9 reads, in the first stanza, what does they refer to? So we have options A, the wind, snow, hail, and rain; B, passengers on the train; C, the people of the valley; or the bustle and the noise. So we're going to go back to the poem, and we can see that they is identified for us here. We'll look what is before. So it says here, "I will not go on like that blustering train, the wind and the snow, the hail and the rain, that makes so much bustle and noise." So we know it's this part. The wind and the snow, the hail and the rain, that make so much bustle and noise in vain, but I'll be as busy as they. So we have option A as the correct answer. Next we have question 10, which reads, the main idea of the second stanza is A, the frost tries to scare the quivering lake; B, the frost makes people shiver as they wake on a cold morning; C, the frost frightens birds and animals into hiding in the forest; or D, the frost affects every part of nature it touches. So we'll go back, and we're talking about the second stanza, which is this part. So we'll quickly just read it. So he flew to the mountain and powdered its crest. So we're talking about the mountain here. And then we can scroll down just a little bit further. The downward point of a many a spear, that he hung on its margin far near where a rock could rear its head. Is that important? No, not really. So let's read the middle part. In diamond beads and over the breast of the quivering lake he spread a coat of mail that it not need fear. So we have the line here. And again, we can go back to the question. So does it say the frost tries to scare the quivering lake? Go back again. We can see that no, they're not talking about fear here of the quivering lake he spread. So quivering could just be because it's cold, and they're personifying the lake. So it's not A. Let's look at B. The frost makes people shiver as they wake on a cold morning. That could be true, but going back to the poem, they make no mention of the morning in that stanza, so it's not B. Next we have C. The frost frightens birds and animals into hiding into the forest. Well, we can see here there is no mention of a forest, and there's also no mention of birds. They have that in the third stanza over here, but we're talking about the second stanza. So we know that it can't be C, so it should be D. The frost affects every part of nature it touches. Let's go back, and we can see that's true. They have the mountain they made here. We have the trees, the lake, and a rock as well. Next is question 11, which reads, which of the following quotes from the poem describes how frost moves? A, that he hung on its margin far and near; B, he lit on the trees and their boughs he dressed; C, over each pane like a fairy crept. D, that makes so much bustle and noise in vain. So all we need to talk about is movement. So which is depicting the movement imagery, which is called kinesthetic imagery. So that he hung, so no, it's not hung because that isn't describing of movement. B, he lit on the trees. No, that's also not kinesthetic imagery. We got C, over each pane like a fairy crab. So we do have a simile here, so it could be C. And next we have D, which says that makes so much bustle and noise in vain. Could be true, but let's just go back to the poem just to double check. So we have here the context. He went to the windows of those who slept, and over each pane like a fairy crept. That could be true. And then D, which is that makes so much bustle and noise in vain. That's this movement about the train. So we know from the context it's more likely to be C. And they're using the simile here to describe the kinesthetic imagery. And next we have question 12, which reads, why does Frost decide to break the pitcher and ruin fruit? A, they forgot to leave him a treat. B, to frighten the sleepers awake. C, so people would notice him. Or D, because he dislikes human possessions. So let's go back. And we can see that it is over here. He peeped in the cupboard and finding there that all had forgotten for him to prepare. Now just to set them a-thinking, I'll bite this basket of fruit, said he. This costly pitcher I'll burst in 3, and the glass of water they've left for me shall teach to tell them I'm drinking. So if we go back to the options, it could be A, it's not B, to frighten the sleepers awake. It could be C, it's not likely to be D because he dislikes human possessions. Nothing in the wording suggests that. So if we go back again to the poem, it could be A, remember, they forgot to leave him a treat, but I think it's more likely to be option C. So people would notice him because he's upset that they forgot him, so he would like people to notice him. And we can tell them here, just to set them thinking. So it could be A, but it's more likely to be C, so people would notice him. Next, we've got question 13, which reads, how does the ending of the poem impact the poem's tone? So we have A, it turns the poem into a spooky mystery. B, it makes the poem feel lonely and hopeless. C, it shows that Frost is a dangerous person. D, it adds a playful and mischievous twist. So here they're talking about tone. Remember, tone refers to how a text sounds and feels. So when we were reading the poem, did it feel like a spooky mystery? I think mystery is true, but not spooky, so it can't be A. B, it makes the poem feel lonely and hopeless. I don't think lonely and hopeless are the correct words, so it's not B. C, it shows that Frost is a dangerous person. If we go back, yeah, he was reckless in breaking this pitcher, but I wouldn't say he's dangerous. Dangerous is not correct adjective, so it's not C. D, it adds a playful and mischievous twist. I would say it's D. If you imagine this Frost character, you can kind of think of him like a Christmas elf of sorts, where he's kind of like pushing things because he wants to be very playful. So the answer is D. Lastly, we have question 14, which reads, what is the central idea of the poem? A, Frost silently transforms the world overnight. B, Frost spends time creating pretty pictures on window panes. C, Frost hates when he's forgotten, so he breaks an old pitcher. D, Frost is louder and not as busy as the wind or snow. So we know it's not C because it's not the central idea of the poem. He hates that he's forgotten, he breaks the pitcher. That was the last stanza, so it's not the central idea. Could it be B, Frost spends time creating pretty pictures on window panes? No, because again, it's not a central idea. It's just one section of the stanza. So is it D, Frost is louder and not as busy as the wind or snow? I don't think that's a good central idea to have in a poem, so it should be more likely to be A, frost silently transforms the world overnight. And we can see that, again, when you remember this question previously, how does the ending of the poem impact the poem's tone? And also remember the quote about here affecting all of nature. So for question 14, it's more likely to be A. I thank you guys for coming to Educating College's Selective Preparation Power Reading Test 28. I'll see you guys next time.